For almost 80 years, America's favorite pastime had two histories. One white, the other black. Racial segregation in professional baseball was a very clearly drawn line until the color barrier was officially broken in 1947 and the game became open to everyone.
Blacks only played against blacks and the whites against whites, and you didn't know who was better.
Baseball was a game that we could play, and we formed a league because we couldn't get in the major league.
The color line in baseball was unofficially drawn in the late 19th century when both the American Association and the National League banned black players from the game through an unwritten policy known as the Gentleman's Agreement.
Baseball's Gentleman's Agreement simply said that blacks would never be allowed to play Major League Baseball. In 1945, the Sporting News wrote that there is not a single Negro player of Major League caliber.
They were sadly mistaken, no question about it. The guys in the Major Leagues knew that there were players equal to them in the Negro Leagues. During that time, there was such a thing called barnstorming. So major leaguers would get a team together and they would play against the Negro Leaguers. And they would play and draw great crowds, They travel all over the country. And most of the time, the Negro Leaguers, they would win those games.
How many baseball records at that time do you think are suspect or not legitimate because not everybody had the opportunity to play?
I would say most of the records, the pitching records, the home run records. So there was no question that they didn't get a chance to play against the best players.
Would Babe Ruth have hit 714 home runs if he was facing Satchel Paige? Would Pie Traynor have been universally regarded as the world's greatest third baseman had Ray Dandridge played in the major leagues?
Branch Rickey, the visionary general manager of the Brooklyn Dodgers, answered those types of questions when he laid the groundwork for racial integration in professional baseball and signed Negro Leaguer Jackie Robinson to the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1945. Robinson made his major league debut 2 years later.
My father was very excited by the opportunity Branch Rickey and the Dodgers gave him to integrate Major League Baseball and to be a Major League Baseball player. He felt he had the talent. This was his opportunity to perform.
I was friendly with Jackie from get-go. He walked in the room and I happened to be in the locker room. And he walked over and I shook his hand and said, "Welcome aboard." Yeah, he had a good first year. If he failed, that might have stopped the entrance of black players for a couple years.
It had a double meaning to Negro League players because after that, the Major League began to take some of the best players away from the Negro League. And the Negro League eventually had to fold. But they were eager to get that opportunity. And as a result, as those guys came into the Major Leagues, they began to take all the awards. Rookie of the Year, Outstanding Player. It's just proof that they really belong there.
Jackie Robinson helped the Brooklyn Dodgers win 6 pennants and 1 World Series, while simultaneously helping race relations across America.
In 1947, Robinson joins the Dodgers. In 1949, President Truman integrates the military. In 1954, the Supreme Court declares, in effect, segregation by race illegal in the United States. 1964, the Civil Rights Act, and Martin Luther King says, "No Jackie, no Martin."
My father was very much an activist, where initially it was, I'm going to have an opportunity to play in the majors. He realized that he was doing it not just for himself, but for all of us. And so, yes, it was pressure, but it was a good kind of pressure.
I think it changed America, and I think it changed the world, that blacks could be equal to whites, because before they were looked at as second-class citizens. And so now they were equal to whites and they could play anyway.
Jackie Robinson's breakthrough swung the door wide open for Latinos in baseball, who currently dominate the sport. Until 1947, only light-skinned Latin players were accepted in the major leagues because they could pass as white. Now, darker-skinned Latino players like Minnie Minoso and years later, Roberto Clemente were breaking records. And Asian players like Masanori Murakami were finally on Major League rosters.
It was a color barrier. It was based on skin color. So whether you were black or you were Latino, it didn't matter. You were discriminated because of skin color. So when he broke the color barrier, he knew that he was breaking it for all people of color and not just for African Americans. And that was important to him, you know, to open the doors up so that we would have fully integrated teams that we have today.
According to the 2015 Major League Report Card, over 25% of players are born outside of the United States, and a diverse mixture of American and foreign-born players has steadily risen over the years. Over 29% of players on current rosters are Latino, over 1% are Asian, and over 8% are African American. Ironically, the African American numbers are the same as they were in 1958.
Well, we're very aware of the numbers have decreased, and we're doing all kinds of activities and programs and baseball academies in key urban markets and where our clubs are to help change that picture. We know that we sort of have to bring the youth along, so it's a process, and we're committed to that process.
That commitment started in 1947 and is one that athletes from all sports owe a debt of gratitude to, especially to those who came before them and paved the way.
I know a lot of people forget. Older people understand. Young people, most of the young people don't even know. They watch games and they see black and brown faces now. So, and all their lives they've been seeing, you know, either Latin or black players play. So they had no idea that it was a struggle to get it to that point.
Major League Baseball celebrates Jackie Robinson Day every April. And on that day, all players, coaches, managers, and umpires on both teams wear the number 42 on their jerseys in honor of a man who made baseball an American pastime for everyone. For CUNY TV, I'm Tinabeth Piña.